Before you listen, you now have 30 seconds to read questions 1 to 10.
Good morning, City Arts Center. Sarah speaking. How can I help you today?
Oh, hello. I'm Mark Carter, and I'd like to book a spot on one of your evening art workshops, please.
Certainly, Mark. Let me get some details from you first. Can I just confirm the spelling of your last name? Is it Carter?
Yes, that's correct. Carter.
Great. And do you have a contact number we can reach you on?
Sure, it's 07700 90015.
07700 90015. Got it. Now, which workshop were you interested in? We have painting, woodworking, and pottery.
I'd like to do the pottery workshop, please.
Excellent choice. And have you done pottery before, or are you a beginner?
I did an introductory class last term, so I'm looking for an intermediate class this time.
Perfect. We have an intermediate session starting soon. It runs on Thursday evenings. The first class is on November the 12th.
November 12th. Let me check my calendar. Yes, that works for me. What time does it start?
It begins at 6:30 p.m. and finishes at 8:30 p.m.
That's great. Plenty of time to get there after work. Where is it held?
It's in Studio 4, which is on the ground floor, just past the reception desk.
Okay, Studio 4. And what is the cost of the course?
The total is £120, but if you have a discount code, you can use it.
Oh, I have a code from your newsletter. It's ART2-0.
Let me apply that. Yes, ART20 gives you 20% off, so that brings the total down to £96. Is there anything I need to bring with me? Clay, for example? No, all tools and clay are provided, but we do recommend that you bring your own apron, as it can get quite messy.
Ah, yes, of course, an apron. I'll make sure to bring one. What about parking? I'll be driving there.
We have a small visitor car park, but it fills up quickly. However, there is plenty of parking available near the library, which is just a 2-minute walk away.
That sounds easy enough. Thanks for your help.
You're welcome. See you on the 12th.
That is the end of part 1. You now have 30 seconds to check your answers. Before you listen, you now have 30 seconds to read questions 11 to 20.
Good evening, everyone. My name is David, and I'm the coordinator of the Green Valley Community Garden. It's wonderful to see so many of you here tonight to learn about our project and how you can get involved. Let me start by giving you a bit of background. The garden was founded 3 years ago. The area where the garden now sits used to be an empty, run-down lot covered in rubbish. A group of us looked at this derelict urban area and realized it had the potential to become something beautiful, rather than just an eyesore. Although we now supply some produce to local schools and have some elderly residents who visit, our primary motivation was simply to clean up and transform that abandoned space into a vibrant green area. When we first started, we needed money to buy soil, tools, and seeds. We applied for several local government grants, but the process was very slow. We also thought about hosting a community fundraising event, but we didn't have a venue. In the end, we approached several businesses in the neighborhood. We were incredibly fortunate that a local supermarket and a construction firm generously donated all the initial funds we needed to get the project off the ground. One of our proudest achievements is our sustainable water system. We wanted to minimize our environmental footprint. Instead of using tap water or a complex filtration system from a local pond, we decided to capture natural resources. We installed a system where all the rainwater that falls on the greenhouse and tool sheds is directed into large underground storage tanks. This gives us more than enough water to keep the plants hydrated, even during dry summer months. We are always looking for volunteers, and no experience is necessary. We have tasks for everyone. Many people assume that new volunteers want to start by planting vegetable seeds, but we find most of them actually prefer constructing the wooden raised beds. It's a very satisfying, hands-on task. Painting the perimeter fences is also an option, but that's usually reserved for our annual maintenance weekend. If you visit us on a weekend, make sure to stop by our little garden shop. We don't sell tools, but we do have some wonderful items produced right here. While we plan to sell fresh herbal teas in the future, our best seller at the moment is our jars of local honey, produced by the beehives at the far end of the garden. They sell out very quickly. Now, let's talk about our future plans. We have some exciting projects lined up for the coming year. First, under education and events, we want to expand our facilities for younger visitors. We've decided to build a dedicated outdoor classroom where children can learn about insects and plants in a safe environment. We are also starting cooking classes next spring. These will focus on teaching people how to make nutritious meals using fresh herbs harvested directly from our plots. In terms of infrastructure, we have several improvements planned to make the garden more sustainable and accessible. We currently have a small kitchen in our visitor center, but it only has cold running water. To fix this, we are going to install a solar-powered boiler on the roof, which will provide hot water for washing up. We also want to make sure the garden is accessible to everyone, including those with limited mobility. So, we are planning to construct new pathways using recycled glass, which provides a smooth and durable surface. Finally, we are working on a conservation project. We are going to build a new dome which will specifically house several rare species of butterflies native to this region. We hope this will help boost their declining population. If you'd like to sign up as a volunteer.
That is the end of part 2. You now have 30 seconds to check your answers. Before you listen, you now have 30 seconds to read questions 21 to 30.
Come in, James, Robert. Have a seat. I've had a chance to look over your progress report on the coral reef restoration study. It's looking very promising. First, tell me a bit about how you decided on this specific topic. Well, Professor Jackson, we initially wanted to look at ocean warming globally, but that felt too broad. Then we attended that seminar by Dr. Aries, who spoke about 3D printed artificial reefs. Yes, his talk was so inspiring. It made us realize we could evaluate a local project using those exact structures. We did search the library, but there was actually plenty of literature already, so it wasn't about finding a gap. It was purely Dr. Araz's presentation that set us on this path. Excellent. And how did you find the actual fieldwork? It must have been quite demanding. It was. We had a lot of trouble with the equipment. The underwater cameras kept shutting down due to the water pressure, which was incredibly frustrating. Yes, but we managed to resolve that. What really worried us was the weather. We had 3 days of storms where we couldn't dive at all, which completely threw off our schedule and made it hard to gather consecutive days of data. As for identifying the coral species, we'd studied that so much beforehand that it was actually the easiest part. I see. Storms are always a risk with marine fieldwork. Now, what about the artificial reefs themselves? What were your impressions? I was amazed by how rapidly marine life adapted to them. I expected it would take months for any fish to make those concrete structures their home, but within just a few days of deployment, there were schools of snapper and grouper swimming in and out of the crevices. Yes, that was incredible. I was more impressed by how sturdy they were. We had those strong storms, as we mentioned, but the structures didn't shift an inch. That is fascinating. Now, what do you think is the main limitation of your study? I think the time frame. We only observed the reefs over a 6-week period. To get a true picture of ecological succession, we really need a multi-year study. I agree. Our data collection methods were highly systematic, and we had a decent number of reef sites to look at, so the sample size wasn't the issue. It's definitely the short duration that limits our conclusions. That's a very fair self-assessment. Make sure you highlight that in your discussion section. Now, regarding your upcoming presentation to the department. You've got a lot of technical details about the 3D printing process, which is interesting, but I think you should pivot. Focus more on how this research can influence local marine conservation policies and funding. The department heads are very keen on seeing real-world impacts. That makes sense. We can definitely adjust the focus of the slides. Now, let's talk about the division of labor for the final paper and presentation. Who is doing what? Well, for the writing, we decided to split the sections. James, you wanted to write the introduction, didn't you? Actually, Robert, since you did most of the initial literature review, it made more sense for you to tackle the intro, and I'll focus on the methodology and results. Oh, right, we changed that. Yes, I'll write the introduction. And as for the data tables and graphs, we thought it would be best if we worked on those together, side by side, to make sure all the statistics are accurate. Definitely. It's too easy to make mistakes if only one of us does it. For the final proofreading, once the whole paper is assembled, I'll take charge of that. I'm usually quite good at spotting typos and formatting errors. That works for me. I'll take responsibility for designing the digital presentation slides. I've got some good templates we can use to make them look professional. Great. And we also need to look into submitting this to a student journal. Who's going to contact the journal editor to ask about their submission guidelines? I'll do that. I've already got their email address on my phone, so I'll shoot them a message this afternoon. Perfect. Thanks, James. Sounds like you've got a very solid plan. Let's meet again next week to review your draft.
That is the end of part 3. You now have 30 seconds to check your answers. Before you listen, you now have 30 seconds to read questions 31 to 40.
Good morning, everyone. In today's lecture, we're going to explore the fascinating history and science of agricultural irrigation systems. Throughout history, the survival of human civilizations has depended on the ability to manage water. Without reliable irrigation, the large-scale agriculture needed to sustain growing populations would have been impossible. Let's begin with the earliest civilizations. In the Fertile Crescent of ancient Mesopotamia, situated between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, rainfall was highly unpredictable. To cope with this, early farmers built an extensive network of canals to divert the river water directly to their crops. This allowed them to cultivate large areas of otherwise dry land. Meanwhile, in Africa, Egyptian agriculture relied on a different natural cycle. It depended on the annual flooding of the Nile River. When the floodwaters receded, they left behind rich, fertile silt. However, to irrigate crops during the dry season, the Egyptians developed an ingenious device called the shaduf. This consisted of a long pole counterbalanced with a heavy weight, with a bucket at the other end. By operating this pole, farmers could easily lift water out of the river and pour it into irrigation channels, which distributed it across the fields. As populations expanded into even drier regions, more sophisticated engineering was required. Around 3,000 years ago, in ancient Persia, modern-day Iran, engineers developed one of the most remarkable water management systems in history, the qanat. In these extremely arid areas, surface water would quickly disappear. To solve this, Persian engineers dug a series of gently sloping underground tunnels. These tunnels tapped into mountain aquifers and transported water over long distances down to the low-lying plains. Because the water flowed entirely underground, this system prevented water loss from evaporation, which was a massive problem in the scorching desert heat. To construct and maintain these tunnels, workers had to sink vertical shafts at regular intervals along the route. These shafts served two purposes. They provided essential ventilation for the diggers below, and they allowed maintenance workers to access the tunnels to clear out blockages. Moving forward in time, the ancient Romans are famous for their engineering feats, most notably their aqueducts. While we often think of aqueducts as structures built to supply water to public baths and fountains in major cities, a significant portion of this water was also redirected to rural areas to support farming. What makes Roman aqueducts so impressive is that they operated without any mechanical assistance. They were entirely dependent on gravity to keep the water flowing. Engineers had to calculate the gradient of the aqueduct with extreme precision, ensuring it sloped downwards just enough to keep the water moving at a steady pace over dozens of miles. Now let's jump forward to more modern innovations. For centuries, irrigation was limited by how much water could be moved using human or animal power. This changed dramatically during the Industrial Revolution. The invention of the centrifugal pump in the 19th century revolutionized agriculture. For the first time, farmers had the power to extract water from incredibly deep wells, opening up vast new areas of land for cultivation, particularly in the plains of North America. In the mid-20th century, the introduction of center pivot irrigation further transformed the landscape. This system uses a line of sprinklers that rotate around a central pivot point, creating the distinctive circular crop patterns that can be seen from airplanes today. In recent decades, however, the focus of irrigation technology has shifted from sheer volume to conservation. Water scarcity is now a global concern. This has led to the widespread adoption of drip irrigation. Originally developed in Israel, This system minimizes waste by delivering precise amounts of water straight to the roots of each plant through a network of plastic pipes and emitters. By preventing water from evaporating on the surface or running off into the soil where it can't be used, drip irrigation ensures that every single drop is utilized efficiently. In the next part of our lecture, we will examine the environmental impacts of modern irrigation.
That is the end of the listening test. You now have 30 seconds to check your answers.